Hello everybody, we are here today at Sedona, Arizona. It's our pleasure to be with a special guest. Many of you know how much I love Sedona and the energy surrounding us here. And we have a special visitor, grandmother Parisha Taylor, Cherokee elder. And I wanted to do a small interview with her because I'm sure that she has some message of hope for you who are at home. Hello. Hello, Parisha,
very
grandmother.
And I hear that you shared you're writing a book so that we can have more people aware of what goes on in the energies here in Sedona.
Yes, because I found that there's not much French book on Sedona.
No, there isn't.
Maybe none.
Yeah.
So I decided to publish a book, yes, a guide
Wonderful.
travel book, but it's more to talk about what is going on in the area, in the mountain, and what the native were feeling at Red Rock Crossing, and the water, the blessed water.
It's great. I think the many times when I've been here, because I love France. Okay, I love France. When we've been there, it's just I have places of affinity. When I go there, I know that there's something more there of me than what I suspected. China's another one of those places. But people, when I've come here, I always find people from France that speak very little English, and they want to know things. And I usually get them in touch with someone who's in a shop here that I know that can help them with that. But to have a book that would actually help explain the very heart and soul of why Sedona stands out in the world like it does. Yes, I hope it very much.
And you know,
success.
I am always surprised when I go in boutique here and I meet new people, and they told me that not much people will know about the energy in the mountain, and there's some Pleiades places here where you can go at the hostel of the prayer at Chimney Rock. You can just bring your prayer there. People doesn't know about this aspect on Sedona.
See, I was here long before the people were here and before it was Sedona. And I would migrate down with the Hopi. It would take us 28 days to walk from the reservation O'Rabi all the way down to here. And there are certain stops, which we call altars, that we take as we would journey down. We would stay the night in those places. And there would be ceremony done, ceremony being very important to the way of life that I lived. Without the ceremony, there is no day. Without the reason, the rhyme, and the music of time and space, there is nothing. So the whole journey down and coming down through Oak Creek and everything, even now when I arrive in Sedona, I take one of two ways, the 129, which brings me off of 17, and then I just kind of walk into the Red Rock, and then you see Bell Rock and the altars as you move, or I come down through that 89A, which is all twisty and turny, but that would be the road, the original pathway that we brought and came down. And here, before it started building up, we had particular directions and yearly ceremonies that had to be done here. And of course then, and very few people know how much crystals are actually still very much a part of Native American spirituality and way we worship, is that we would bring our crystal down, and that crystal still exists in O'Rabi, along with many tablets that many world governments are still trying to get their hands on. The Tibetans, my connection to the Tibetans was through those tablets that we have, they have the same. And both peoples trying to get it together enough to know what the message is to unite us. So there's a lot that goes on here, and I'm very happy that you'll give people the opportunity to read that, you know, to actually take. And again, with me, I like to see what each country's role is in what's going on in our world today. France has a role. And when we go back, as Dr. Hill was explaining, into the past and everything, we realize that a lot of the religious teachings of Jesus Christ that people don't read about, okay, is that there are some objects and places in France where there are still energies and knowledge to be learned.
Good.
Yes. So for me, this is just like coming home. I come through here quite a bit and everything else, and it's good to have you here. It's good to have you here.
To me, it's home too. As soon as I put my feet on this land, I said, I belong to that place. Quebec is not my home.
And well, for us coming down, I still have to, because everything is built up so fast, so very fast, and there's so much congestion now. I can't say, without being totally honest, that sometimes coming through, I'd rather come later at night when all of the busyness is gone.
Yes.
And that I could still feel the stillness and hear the voices and the chanting.
And do you agree that even if a person come and they just see the boutique and they will say, nothing happened special to me, but the energy touched them anyway?
Yes.
And when you're going back home, wherever you're coming from, people surrounding you at home will touch that energy. You're bringing that with you.
Yes. And we, you know, we carry that with us. We collect and what we consider, or I think you would see it as your aura. I feel that this is my field, and I gather in it, and I feel that that's what we broadcast when we go places. I've actually had sensitives that'll say to me, "Oh, you were here or there," you know, and they know exactly where I've come from. So we do transport that. I like that.
Yes, and it's because to me, it's each time I touch Sedona, I come here, I receive initiation with where I come from.
Of course you would.
Each time.
Of course you
would.
And
of course I receive some healing and energy cleaning, and when you will go back home, people will notice that something changed on you. Even if they don't see it in 3D, they will know that something happened.
But Carolyn, you have to awaken and accept the fact you're an oracle yourself. While you do all of this for us and you help us get the message out, you are the message. And the fact, like I told you when we were in Montreal, the fact of what you're doing is so needed right now. We need healthy media. We need someone that has the courage and the heart to stay with it and get the message out there. What you taped here before with the doctor, this is information that not everybody's going to get unless you can get it out. You know, so I do ceremony for you every day and look at everything you're doing to just keep you moving.
Thank you.
You are the heart of that. You and André are doing a very powerful work. Don't ever demean that. Always know that. Stay strong with that. Let that power make you have greater courage, and get it out, get the information out, let people know.
And I must say that we had received attack.
Yes.
And this is why we have to always get up at the morning and continue. And it's not always easy, but we really know, both of us, why we do it.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Well, that's who you are, though. You would have to do it. There's no way you couldn't, right? And you say that you and André are looking into actually working with community and developing a self-sustaining community?
Yes, in Quebec.
And how far have you gotten with that?
Actually, yes, there's a group who got formed. Yes, they have a land, a place where they could move.
Okay. Well, that was an early adventure of some younger years. It's very hard, and attracting the right people that have the right heart to do that.
I know.
There are some successful ones and stuff to do that, but I think that that's real good, and should you be considering land or something, I have 2 very large parcels of land, so let me know how you progress in that, okay?
We thought also about, having a community in USA. That's for sure. Because to me, having a community will be better with people who are really anchored to the soul.
I see in my mind's eye what I see and what the little previews that I get every once in a while through vision. We're in this tremendous transition. We really are. And coming out, it's like just working with my granddaughter and going shopping with her, okay? I didn't like the way that she thought that everything is just in the grocery store. I mean, where else is she going to learn that? So I made sure I shared with her the stories of my childhood and how we had to kill to have the meat. And she's a very gentle soul, and she was, "Oh, Grandma, I would never kill anything." I says, "But you like that steak. I need you to understand this, not to make you feel bad, not to have guilt, but to have understanding and to be capable of knowing what you would have to do if you needed to survive that." So bringing that information to our young people right now is extremely part of what I want to see done. I want them to understand you just don't go pick it off the counter. Something lived, something had a life, had its own purpose.
I really think that people must go back to what was known before, like distill plant to do your own essential oil. Don't just think that it will be always available at your store, local store. Maybe you will have to do it by yourself soon.
Well, I think that there are programs that actually take young people out and introduce them to that. My learning came as a young girl and myself, my own initiation levels, okay? And my totem is of the rabbit, because to us and in our particular beliefs, everything is also the dragon, okay? And so my first initiation was that I was to kill the rabbit, skin it, cook it, prepare it, share it at the table with my elders, right? And it's like, no. When my grandmother's telling me that, I'm just looking at her saying no. I had to be maybe 7 years old. I remember I was very little. Then I was saying no, which is something I never said to my grandmother. You don't say no to my grandmother. And it was like, no. And so then she said, but you have the relationship with the rabbit. You want the spirit relationship. And it was, I have the spirit. I have it here. I don't need to kill the rabbit. Anyway, the persistence of that was that you have to have this to go forward. So I didn't have children to play with. I was raised with old people. So it was like the kind of choices were taken away. But I had already adapted at that age to eating more vegetables and eating from the earth. The mother gave me what I wanted. I didn't have to take a life. I could eat from the tree, the ground, the leaf, you know. And so I had come to that on my own, in my own way. She had noticed that and she brought that up. And like I told her, I would rather do it this way. Maybe this is not an initiation. And I started negotiating. Right? And so she took me to the garden because she had her herb garden and things that we worked with it because she canned and she dried things, and that's the way we preserved for winter, right? And so she knew that I loved tomatoes because I would just take a tomato off the vine and wipe it off and eat it, you know, just like an apple. And she said she let me pick it, and after I ate it, she says, and you do know that the tomato screams as loud as the calf. Even now, I feel that impact, that boom that come with that. And I just looked at her, and she said, life here, all is life. Everything has purpose. Okay, it is the choices that you make and understand is what we're teaching. And it changed my whole perspective and what I still today remain very much more to the vegetarian way of things, but I have as much respect for picking the tomato off the vine as I do killing the calf. And I think that young people today need to be aware of the value of all life. We take for granted everything.
Yes.
And to look at what we have and what is being threatened right now is like, you know, whoever predicted that, whoever thought that that would be. I know the Hopi and many of our people have talked about this time for a long time. Nobody would listen. Even when we went to the UN, I saw them totally disgrace my grandfathers and actually acted like we were some rubble of whatever to get out of there when they were trying to tell them these times will come. And one of the things that we're facing today in this country is actually people challenging what we call the Constitution. I personally have and sometimes teach about what the Masons did and who were the forefathers of this country and the insight they had to actually create that Constitution. Not that it shouldn't be a living, evolving thing that grows with us, but we don't change its values and its virtues. And that's what's being threatened today. And I believe there was sight, there was intuition to our fathers that actually created this. And a way to see that it's not perfect here. Equality doesn't exist. We're learning and we're evolving from it. But it's not time to change the very demand of it. So I feel this is happening. I want my granddaughter and young people, because I spend a lot of time now with young people. Maybe that's what keeps me a little younger, okay, but just to let them know, you got to look at what is their source of things and how things come to be so convenient for you, so that you're not totally bewildered when it's taken, and it be taken away from you. And I don't think it's just children. I think that adults need to know that, and that's why I think communities like what you're thinking of, it's necessary. Even if people come and stay for a few years or whatever and go on their way to something else, it's a matter of having that time for realization. And the realization is, what does it take to live and be on this earth? The mother herself gives us lots of intelligence and understanding. And so just helping, and I think community is that answer.
I would like to bring you on another subject. I think that you know that I have studied exopolitique. It's citizen democracy with extraterrestrial.
I'm sorry?
I have studied exopolitique. Exopolitique is democracy, citizen democracy with extraterrestrial.
Okay, I don't know that I understand, Caroline.
Okay, we are receiving visitors from other space.
Okay, I do understand.
Okay, I did diploma in this specific field in order to know how to do democracy with the other dimension and other
Sky Nation.
Yes. And I'm talking about that at Lux Media as well, because in 2017, my guides told me that I didn't need to be a chameleon anymore. I can say to people that I am from Pleiades, there's no problem, and I can come out with the information that they are sending to us. We cannot hide anymore with what we know about the other dimension. And the government just came out with UAP. They don't call UFO anymore.
No.
And they came out with UAP, and people thought that they are doing divulgation, disclosure, but it's not a disclosure. They are still hiding everything of the people. And I think that it's the time that people knows about what is going on in this planet, because this planet has been visited since many, many years. And my teacher prefer now to work with the native, because they are the people that doesn't make any Disneyland with that topic.
Well, Cherokee, we know we're from the Pleiades. You know, I'm raised with it. So knowing that there's the differences, and I have found it very exciting in my life. I'm just curious. I'm an incurable people watcher, and anything I know makes me want to know 10 more things about it, and goes on and spreads more. But actually what's called aliens, we see that as our ancestors. We see that as the old ones. We call them the old ones. Sometimes the original ones. It's how it interprets in our language. So as Cherokee, we know that we came from the Pleiades. So the planetary settling of things and the visitors, we understand. And as Hopi, it's only in the Kiva that they will come and actually visit, and there's visitations there. I can't go into a whole lot of that. It's very private and protected, basically to protect them, so a bunch of people or the government itself doesn't get themselves tried in that. But no, I think amongst the indigenous roots of this planet, you won't find any natives that aren't very much aware of what we would consider as the ancient ones. Yes. And it's still going on. It always has been going on. I know in Navajo country about 8 years ago, the Navajo people, the police were actually chasing what is now considered the little grays. Was chasing one, took film of it and everything else. They got a call from one of the old ones that was out, was in his Hogan, and this thing came. And his grandson hurried up and called the police, and it was still hanging around when the police got there, and they took pictures of it. Everything else, our government totally denounced it. The native people didn't, but the actual chasing and what they were chasing finally lost itself in the canyons, so they couldn't find it. But there's a lot of activity today that goes on in the canyons on the particular reservations that has very much what we would consider planetary visitors. And, you know, there's also sacred places that are here where they have actually rooted certain particular transition places, transporting places. Some of that's still very much there. Like I said, there are people of very powerful probabilities that are investigating and following that. So you can't poof it anymore. People, I have a lot of friends that'll say, oh, come on, grandmother, you don't believe in that. It's like, no, I don't believe it. I know it. It's just no different if I stand before a religious group and say, you know, I don't believe in God. I know God. I don't have to, you know, you maybe need to believe. I don't. I know God. Okay. So it's just a matter of that knowing. And I think that I think all of us have a knowing. There's just some afraid of it. Some of it don't
You know,
get it.
a few years ago, I've met John de Souza. He is, one of my dreams was to meet one day para-investigator, police officer. Police officer were doing remote viewing and were doing astral projection on an accident, and I have met John de Souza, and we will see him tomorrow in a conference. He was the para-investigator police officer who trained the police officer for the FBI, who was doing it for 25 years. And this man, he is explaining, it's not because it is extra dimensional. We cannot, ETs are made of plasma and light. And it's not because we cannot explain that intelligence that it doesn't exist. It is extra dimensional. And the plane are crossing, overlapping.
Overlapping? I would not see it quite that much. I don't think that it's necessary to overlap. I think it's always within what goes on in space-time is far, far more than we know, and there's multiple things going on right now that we can get in. We could have a discussion on parallel worlds and everything else. The good of technology right now is like when you said astral projecting. I work with a team of people who are extremely well versed in what we have in technology and the advance of it. Some of it Elon has actually financed for us and stuff. And we can take pictures of that. I can take pictures of when the soul leaves the body. We have that. Okay, how do we get that out to people? How do we help people take and, you know, once you have to introduce it and finally convince them to look at it, right? But no, we can actually see that. And one of the things that I find myself teaching all the time is that, you know, for years, at least 40 years of my life, I've studied the brain. Okay, there's more neurons in my heart than is in my head. And what we know from this technology is that what you think you're thinking didn't come from there. It shot from here to there in such a fast reflection. We still can't capture it. We just know it moved. It's like the wind. You can see it move the leaves, but you didn't see the wind. Well, we know it's there. And we know it moves from here, and then from here it goes throughout, okay? But here's where all of that rests, and here's where that world that we can't see yet is coming to us very fast. And it is going to be through technology. I have a lot of spiritual people that'll say, yeah, but that's the mark of the devil, the 666, and they go on and everything else. And I tell them, you know, I would like to meet the devil. I'll shake his hands and I'll ask him. I got many questions for him, but I'm not afraid of that. Yes, AI could actually be something we need to have a lot of control with and everything else. It's no different than today. Every day you hear in the news the possibility of one of the world leaders going crazy and hitting the button and throwing nuclear waste all over everything. AI is the same thing, but I think the consciousness that we're involved in right now, and that's not a word, quite a word we use in our communications, but of the mind, of the heart. We're evolving very fast. People are becoming aware. And my people have always been more knowledgeable, but just very down to earth with it. You know, we know what we know and we live with it. We don't need to convince anybody. And without it, I just don't know how a person gets up every morning and faces a day in the ignorance that they are embracing. How do you have the heart and the reason to want to go on, when all you believe in is this ignorance. You know what I mean? It's what you are talking about, what I'm talking, the stimulus of what we are, and the ability that we have. We can heal ourselves. We don't need drugs. We don't need their narcotics. But who will be listening to that? Everybody's so afraid, you know. The conversation you had earlier, like this whole thing with this virus and everything, well, they're starting it up again. It's like, how can you be so ignorant with everything's already been published? The reason you wouldn't take that, so why would you ever consider it now? It's just, like I said, people are so afraid, they're just paralyzed and they're frozen, and you have to have this gentle, loving way. I find it through music and play. I like to I like to share my child self with people, to warm them up and allow them to just hear it. And I'm not convinced here at 81 that they even need to believe it. See, I just need to plant the seed, and they'll let it grow. See, I give them things that they can't get away from. And then they have to come back and they keep thinking about it. And then they want to read something. They'll go to the internet and they'll pick it up. And maybe 5 years, in some cases 25 years later, somebody will walk up to me in a program or something and say, do you remember saying, you know, and then it's like where they're at with it today. So we're planting seeds. Yeah. And they're afraid. My compassion for humanity right now is immense because people are so afraid. They're just buying the power message and succumbing to arrogance that's beyond anything I can describe. And we need people like you and the doctor here to let people know. If we can just give them something to think about. Like people will say, grandmother, sometimes you come across so controversial. I says, good, because it'll piss them off so bad, they'll go do something about it. They'll go look, they'll try to make me wrong. So they go look, I don't care. I mean, I encourage that. So to sit here and agree with them, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell them what they don't want to hear. And I'm going to stimulate their anger so that they'll go try to find different. That's all I don't care about that, you know. And so they'll say, but then people say this, people say that. Hey, people say something all the time, you know, it's not going to stop. And just talking about what we're talking about as far as aliens and everything, how can anybody not believe that in this great universe, we are the only thing that exists? Yet it's ignorance, and we're taught that from the time we're in school. Right now, with the big thing going on with the quantum space, the quantum theory, right? Can you imagine if our children, if you and I and people of my age and younger actually had opportunity to study that? Can you even fathom or imagine where we would be today?
Yes.
Just for a child to know that it even has a choice, and that in itself it has a power, and it has a drive, and it has a desire, and it has a dream, and they can go pursue it. And that it's not just you or me or the physical world that can help them. That this greater world of spirit that we have, there is unlimited possibility. And when you say that, it sounds so cliche today, but it's so real.
Yes.
And they believe that they now have to lock themselves into an institution of education that immediately starts destroying their probabilities.
You know, in Exopolitique, Dr. Michael Sala did a typology that there's 6 levels in the universe. And here on this planet, we are level 0, near a 1, because we are about to use Tesla energy. So there's many other levels in the universe.
Oh, yeah.
So this is why I say to people with our human eye, there's a lot that we can't see and can grab because our consciousness is not there.
But we've been taught not to see, Caroline.
Yes, exactly.
Our children are told that imagination is not real, yet it's in the imaginal that it's all real and it's the only reality. And what is imagination? I mean, let's do some English here. Image and action. Okay, image and action, imagination. How can you tell a child it's telling you something that you can't see, that they don't see that? And I see parents that'll actually punish them for that. And because a child is persistent that they are seeing it, a parent will see that as arrogance and punish them. And just to know that the sciences that are now being talked about, I'm so happy that I've lived this long, that I can actually see in churches, there's ministers that are talking from their scriptures in quantum on knowledge now, and understanding God is not something out there, up there, or somewhere. It's right here. Okay, so basically that they're starting to talk about that, children of God. You know, I used to say, I think it was 50 years ago when I would do programs, okay, I understand this. Crow grows up and becomes crow. The puppy grows up and becomes the dog. The kitten grows up and becomes the cat. What do children of God grow up to be? You know? And it just starts to, and it used to startle the churches because it would be like, what is she saying, you know? Is she, you know? And of course, yes, I'm saying, we are the gods. We are the children. We need to begin to act like that, you know? And like I said, so yeah, I realize a few people call me crazy and they've come at me from other directions, but it's just what it is.
When you know who you are,
yeah, you
you
what
don't
it
care.
is. You know, it's just another day, right? But like I said, right now there's so much changing, and what you're saying, people, we've been taught to shut that part of our brain off. The brain actually has the capability and probabilities of being a part of that invisible world. But after so many generations of shutting it down, it's in cellular memory, and it's coming back. And we can do that, like this new project and like the new business I'm starting with MedTech, is actually the healing process has to be stimulated through brain stimulation and other things so that we put to work our body can do it. We don't need you to go put something in it. It's all there and it's coming. And we have to understand that we get a lot of help from those beings that we're calling aliens and calling other names. They're constantly feeding in. Indigenous people are not at all strange.
Some people are asking, why are they are not coming to help us? But they are here, they are helping. Since a long time, it's just that you don't see it.
They've always been here. But yeah, and that's becoming something else that, like I said, the introduction to it and how you know, people are made fun of that talk about it, and the whole government suppression stuff that's going on. It's still, it's not effective anymore. People are still going beyond it. It's like the statistics that I watch and everything, and working in some of the political field now, because I've been approached as a medium to help look at some stuff. I mean, who would ever believe that, you know? But a lot of your professional, what I consider politicians, look to psychics and other people for information now.
Yes, I know.
You know, they're very much there. They're just hiding it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, it's the hidden, yet it's the need, and it's going to happen. We're going to make it. I mean, everything that I see shows that we'll go through some fire. We'll go through some hell. But we're on the other side of it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's time. It's time. So much has just been accepted. We have become a decadent people. Like I said, look, watching my granddaughter and realizing that, you know, she made fun of a person who we know and love very much for being a vegetarian. Well, she was eating her steak, and then it's like, that was, my antenna went up, and it's like, okay, Parisha, it's time to educate your granddaughter. You know, you got to let her know that that's okay. You know, she needs to know that what she's taken on her plate is a life. And we, in handling, like now, she still eats her steak, okay? But now she's familiar with the cow and the whole thing. I mean, they don't get access to that. Who takes their children to the slaughterhouse? You know what I mean? Only Parisha, I guess. But it's like you need to let them know and see so they have respect, and you don't judge someone else. And that was the thing for me, is how could she feel that way with all I have, you know, because I've just about raised her. How could she ever think it's okay that we would make fun of a loved one that would not and was uneasy because of watching her eat the steak. I mean, it was a two-way thing, but at the same time, it was a sign real fast for me, okay, you're so busy out there, you need to come home and look at some things here. And just knowing that it's not alone. All our young people are in that place. And while she's very perceptive, and spirit world is something very real to her, I just found that little bump in the road didn't make any sense to me. And
what you could say to someone who would like to open up his vision?
What would I say to them?
Yes, because many people they think that they doesn't see, and they would like to see.
Okay, you have to realize I come from an oral teaching, so I don't so much refer people to books. I refer them to teachers. Somebody that they can talk to, even argue with, even somebody they can disagree with, but they can talk it through. So for me, when I find people that are seeking, I try to find somebody, a teacher or someone's available, and I even suggest that they go to different programs or different places like Sedona and that, you know. And I truly trust this when I tell people, because you're seeking, you're already there, you'll find. Just trust it when it comes. Don't pass anything away. No matter how ridiculous it may feel to you, pursue it, you know. And like I said, people come back to me and share, you know, my God, that was the most powerful thing in my life. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you know. And I just trust that. I just trust that once in our heart we start to ask those questions, I realize this whole invisible environment that we have is just filled with all kinds of vibrations that we'll find it. So I just tell them, don't give up, keep seeking. And usually if they say, well, like right now, what are your questions? Where are you? And when they share where they're at and what they're questioning, I know, with all the connections and people I've met in my life, I just know, go check this one out, go, you know, send it. And I don't take students anymore at this age. I'm working pretty much inside my elder circle, but I feel that there's so much out here to learn and so many places to come. Like I said, I want to talk to the young woman here because there's all kinds of messages here on these walls. And just to walk in to any place here in Sedona, you would start having response to questions you have.
Yes.
Oh, I love going in the stores where they have all the crystals. And I just get drunk. My husband actually has to take me and get me out because I start stumbling. I really mean it, I get drunk. And it's like I just breathe them in, and it's so beautiful, and seeing what, you know, how they cut. And that their crystals sing for me. And then I get to hear things that I don't normally get time to hear. So people think I'm shopping, and it's like my husband says, no, she's in meditation. She's not shopping, you know, just going by, looking at them and touching. So to me, the person who is seeking that would ask me, I tell them, have courage, you'll find it. It's right there. And soon as it comes, and magnetically, what I do though, is that once they've done, I include them in my altar, because I do 4 altars a day. And I bring them back in memory, and then I see them and take them into a greater field where they'll get the assistance they need. And usually at that time, it's somebody that I know or have met along the path that I realize will be attracted. Because see, you can manipulate this field. And when you have the ability and the beliefs and the knowing that you can move this energy, I trust that 100%, and it's never let me down. People say, well, what do you have, 60, 80% accuracy? And it's, yeah, I've never had anything but 100% accuracy. You know, so at this point, I feel that the many who are asking are definitely going to find. I even tell people about you. So you should be having people up there in Montreal trying to find you. You know quite a few people I know.
Oh, yes.
And when I was up there with you was when all that truck driving resistance and everything was going on. And so like I said, there's all kinds of movements. People are finding, everybody's seeking somewhere to find
If I can
something.
ask you a last question, it would be, I have heard that the place where, the choice where we are placed now is to be into service to other or service to self. It's the choice we must do right now. Are we in service to other or service to self? And people who are service to other, we can see who they are. And the other people, are they going to shift? And if they don't shift, what will happen to them? Because many people who are, let's say, at the government, they are there to serve themselves, not other people. And I think that the big call that we are having on this planet is to serve others. What do you think?
I agree with that, but then I disagree with it also. Until you have come to loving yourself, you cannot love anything else.
Yeah, sure.
Till you have come to trust yourself, you will have no trust. Till you have not actually found peace with yourself, you will never know peace in this world. And so for me, it's sort of like when you're on the airplane and you have a child and they tell you put the mask on yourself first and then administer. I just see that as the plainest, simplest, most intelligent message I could ever give anybody, is that you first have to discover you. And of course, along the way, any opportunity you have to assist somebody, please do so. But right now, the most important person in this discovery is yourself. And maybe some people will say you're selfish. Maybe some people have something to say, but you know what I know here at 81 years old? Somebody always has something to say. I do encourage, in fact, I work very strong with the people who are in my organization right now, that, you know, to teach and to know is the wisdom you can teach from. If you teach from something you don't know, who you're talking to feels the shallowness of it. They know you don't know. So the best experience you can have is experience your own pain, your own discovery, your own whatever, and then come to have the power of that knowing. I have gone and been invited places that I cannot justify. The kind of people that have come into my life, I don't expect people to believe me. Because it's like, who are you and why would that person even take 5 minutes with you? But I find that that's the way it goes, you know, so I've just adapted to it and taken it however, ride it through however I have to. And it comes from actually being aware of who Parisha is. Knowing myself, knowing even the weakness. You know, I overindulge in helping people. I have to watch. I'm one of those people that if you're standing on the corner and you're just a bum and you're asking for $1, and then there's the person who's sitting there asking for the same dollar that's very wealthy and will get in their car and drive away. I don't care. I don't need you to explain it. If you're saying you need $1 and I've got 5, I'll keep 4 and give you 1, you know what I mean? And somebody will say, but then that person's not really a beggar. I don't care. I'm not going to judge it. I just know that I saw him and he was asking for $1 and I have 5. You know, so I'm kind of like that in the way I see things. I don't need people to justify why they're doing what they're doing. Okay, but if you tell me, if you come to me and say, grandmother, I want this with all my heart and this is where I want to go, I will take you there. I have no doubt I will get you there. And that comes from knowing who this is and what I have learned about this. I know that. I have, like I said, I know the indulgences that I have, and that's generosity. My husband, my family constantly said, Mom, you would give away the house if it was, you know, but I just feel it's just, I know how to go get another house if I gave that house away. I trust that. I don't question that. So when people come and that would be what I would say, that is my weakness, is overindulging in generosity, giving away everything. I don't have any intention of trying to hold it in spirit, and of this world it needs to remain. And outside of that, I am sure of everything. When I say to you, I don't believe in God, I know God. You know that I know God. And that's what I do. And without question. So people are coming to that. So I would say don't just dive into service. I know people who are sacrificing themselves in service to others. They're sick, they're unhappy, they're angry.
Mm.
How is that you're doing of any good if you're destroying yourself and pretentious about it? And service comes because along my day, somebody will come and need something, or I get a call and I know that I can make connections, or I can get up and go do it or whatever. And I will, because that's what makes me happy. I would not do it if I'm going to bitch, complain, and swear and curse all the way to the place. You know, I mean, it just doesn't work. But if it's something and I really know that I've connected with it, I'm going to do it. So service is a big part of everything, but only because you can, and you can do it with love and happiness. Mm-hmm. And that comes only if you know yourself. I have no problem knowing.
And I place my faith in God. Because often people will say, I have faith, but how much do we have faith? Are we really open to take risk and really give our life in His hand? Not sure.
Faith comes, though, from experience, doesn't it? If I can't trust it, I have no faith in it. And I have to take the risk of whatever it's going to take for me to know that, for me to experience and discover that. Then I have faith. My faith is in knowing that I am a child of the Great Spirit, and that I have purpose and reason to be working as the body. And I don't care who you are, and I'm not afraid of your devils, and I'm surely not concerned at all that you may threaten or even take my life. You will simply resolve a body that's going to be resolved anyway. You hear what I'm saying? So once you come to that, then you can have faith. I have faith in humankind, even the worst of humankind. I've talked to people who have murdered people and have found compassion for them. It's not something that you can explain to others, but you still see that inside their beliefs and what they did, there was still something that made them think that what they did was right. And I can have compassion for that. I have just come to where I don't have any need to hate or take issue with anybody, even the crazy people today that are trying to change what our governments and what our worlds and taking the freedoms away. They're afraid and they're scared and they're greedy. Their whole thing is that they will not have enough. My faith is strong enough, I can teach them there's more than enough. And I will just keep doing that. So, yeah, service is good, but only if you're happy and you have it to give. And the faith that you need to do that is yourself. Is yourself. And you have that, Caroline.
Thank you.
You and André are doing that.
Yeah. We like it. I thank you for your time today. I will let you go and enjoy more Sedona.
Well, I love this because this is like, I wanted to have time and visit you and us talk. I don't care if André has to film it, but it's so wonderful just to sit down and have this time with you. I mean, I've been juggling all of the people that had appointments and stuff, and I keep saying, I got to go through Sedona first, you know, I got to go through Sedona first. And I still say this, and I say this to you as well, André. You need to have the traditional marriage ceremony.
Yes.
It is an initiation. It's called a coming together, and it's a 4-day event.
We will do it, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we will come back and do it.
A beautiful place, okay, to where you'll have the privacy to explore some of the avenues within each other. You know, that when you're coming together, in our tradition, you marry only once in your life.
Yes.
If you choose to just explore pleasure, because we don't give it a name like sexuality or whatever, but if you're just pursuing pleasure, you can do that on your own time, any place. But once we decide that we are coming together, that we are merging into the oneness, there is initiation in that, and it's a 4-day ceremony. And it involves actually jumping fire. So maybe we better talk about that first, right?
Yes.
And make sure we can get past that. But no, it's in itself actually allows you to know that no matter what the two of you encounter, you'll always find strength in each other. And today when I see people, divorces and everything else, it's like, no, you know, your word is your virtue, and when you put your word and commitment to something. So the coming together is an initiation, and that's what I thought we were going to be planning. So, and I knew that you were going to go together and make your, you know, promises, I guess, okay, and then that we were going to do that. So yes, I'm very much here to facilitate whatever you and Andre need as far as the blessing way. But I would love to take you through the coming together ceremony.
Yes, I would like to do it, yes.
And the nobility of him. You know you've got the right person on your arm to do what you have to do. You cannot do it alone, but together you got it. You got this. That is a noble warrior there. He's got your back.
Yes, I know that together we are more powerful to do our mission in God. That's for sure.
And he's handsome. That helps.
I used to be.
That helps.